I'm here with David O'Brien, the president of SurvTech Solutions Surveying and Mapping. Thanks for being here, David.
Welcome, Dwight. Glad to be here.
Now, I want to start with what drew you to the surveying industry. I mean, you went to college. Did you know originally that you were going to be in surveying, or was it engineering? Kind of explain to me that process. What led you to become a surveyor?
Well, I could give you a fake answer, but I'll give you the real one. I obviously have always been very good at math and science, so engineering was the simple route. I started in electrical engineering, and I quickly found out that electrical engineering was not for me. Boolean algebra and machine language pretty much weeded me out of the electrical engineering program. So, dropped out of school for a year, worked in a paper mill, working swing shifts, pretty much 60 to 80 hours a week, nights, days, 12-hour shifts. Realized that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, even though it was incredible money. So I went back to school, and the funny thing is when I went back to school, I realized, well, I want to do engineering, but what type? And I thought civil, man, they're loaded with civils. And then someone told me that University of Maine was known to be the best survey and engineering school in the entire world. And I thought, well, shoot, if I'm going to go back to college for engineering, why not go for survey and engineering, because it's the best college in the world for that program. And really, that's how it all started. And I almost think, I've talked about this with you many times, that it was almost more like destiny or maybe a plan for my life, because it really is a perfect fit. With my math background, I like being outside and inside and doing different things every day. Surveying is a perfect fit, especially with law, mathematics, computers. It's just the perfect blend of everything for me.
Now, when you're taking these classes and you have stuff in the field where you go out and you're kind of learning hands-on, it's not really like a full apprenticeship or anything like that. When you graduate and then you go work for a surveying company, how difficult was it to take what you had learned in the classroom and apply it to what you were now doing in the field?
Well, the funny thing is, Dwight, as I just mentioned, I went to the University of Maine in Maine. So Maine is part of the original colonies, part of Massachusetts, so it's a totally meets and bounds state. Florida is a totally BLM state, which means it's original sectional lands government survey, mile by mile sections and townships. And so the funny thing is about my career, the amount of sectional, I guess, college information that I had about sectional lands and so forth, I probably did about 1 week's worth of my whole 4 years in college. So I obviously knew a lot about GPS, GIS, all the theory, boundary law. You read all that, but it's funny, I came to a public land state and practiced surveying. So I really had to, learn all that. And truthfully, and you talk to any surveying graduate, when you come out of school, you don't know how to survey. You know math, you know the theory, you know how to think, and you very quickly can become a good surveyor, quicker than somebody that learns it the old-fashioned way, just by experience. But you really don't know how to survey when you come out of school. You learn it from another good surveyor.
And was there anybody in particular that kind of helped you along there, or was it kind of...
Yeah, my old boss at the time was actually an excellent boundary law surveyor. Probably one of the best I've ever seen. And he really allowed me to cut my teeth in boundary law. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in boundary, and I feel like that is one of my strengths. Thought many times about going back to law school. I don't know that I will. Depends on the business and where we are 10 years from now when my girls are older and so forth. But it may be one of my future goals.
Well, that's great. Now, you tell a great story about working with people in the field, and they want to know where your accent is from, and you kind of give them the humorous answer. Can you relate that story to us here?
Yeah, I can. The funniest place I've ever been, and this was probably about 10 years ago, and so I was a little bit younger, granted, but I went to South Carolina, and as you all are hearing on this video right now, I have a very strong New England, Boston accent, so to speak, and I was in a very small town in South Carolina, Walterboro, I believe is what it was, near Charleston. They call it the Low Country, and it is, it's all swamp. And so, pretty much the first thing, one of the surveyors looked like he lived in a plantation house, and his family had owned it for the whole 200 years or something. It had been passed down from family member to family member. It was a plantation house, I think. And the other guy was just a good old boy, I think from even further in the woods. And he proceeded to ask me, and this is how he put it, he said, boy, where are you from? And so I have a good sense of humor, and everybody that knows me knows that. And so I looked him dead in the eye and said, Alabama. And it was a very long, dead silence. I'll never forget it. He just stared at me for like, it had to be 30 seconds or a minute. He just stared at me. And I kept a straight face. I didn't laugh or anything. And he said, boy, you ain't from Alabama. And so then I told him, I said, well, I'm from Maine. And then that was not the right thing to say. Because at that point, I actually found out a part of history that I'm sad to say that I didn't know. I really didn't know it. He said, boy, it's because of you we lost the war. And I'm thinking, well, what war? And he said, the War of Northern Aggression, boy. And so that was the first time I heard it called that. So he proceeded to tell me about the battle at Gettysburg, where, and if you watch the movie, you'll see this. I rented the movie to see it after this. There was a battalion from Maine, and they had to hold the far east or west end of one of the hills, on one of the little round top or something. And supposedly, if they lost that position, the South would have flanked the North and took the Battle of Gettysburg and probably marched on to Washington. The war would have been over. And they actually were, the guy that was in charge of it was a professor from Borden College, an actual professor. Doesn't sound like a fighting man, Joshua Chamberlain. And which is, the military still uses him for a lot of their treatment of prisoners. He was very good about treating people like men, even when they were prisoners of war and so forth. He's still regarded as one of the highest people today. And the funny thing is, he told his bunch of dumb Mainers, I think is what it was, that basically they were going to hold that position no matter what. And the funny thing is, they ran out of ammunition. And so they were pretty much at the mercy of the South. The South is charging up the hill. So Joshua Chamberlain ordered them to strap their, what's it called? The knives on the end of the gun.
Bayonets.
Bayonets to the gun, and do a blind charge down the hill with no ammunition. And they did. They show in the movie of Gettysburg, and the South surrendered to the main battalion right there, and they held that hill, and Gettysburg was won by the North, and there goes. The North won the war. So anyway, this surveyor proceeded to tell me, so see, boy, it was you that caused the South to lose the war, your people. So that's really the funniest story I've got. And I mean, obviously every day I get, where are you from? And since I've been in Florida, there's been about 4 people that have guessed I'm from Maine. 99.9% guess I'm from Boston, which is where my dad's from. So.
Now, you've worked out in the field, you've worked for other companies, you kind of get tired of that. What led to you going into business for yourself?
Well, I've been in business for myself now since 1995, so even when I worked for the other company, I quickly became an owner. Truthfully, my grandfather was self-employed, and I very quickly saw the freedom financially, but mostly time-wise, that he had over other people. I think in his early days he told me he worked in a factory, and you know what factory life's like. You have to go set times and work certain hours, and so I basically grew up with my granddad from the time I was like 4 years old until I was, I don't know, till I left Maine. Really, he was almost like a second father to me. So really, the reason I'm self-employed today is probably because of him. My dad had an excellent job, but he worked for the phone company, union, all that. My grandfather had to hustle, small businessman, owned a sawmill, forestry industry, business, cutting trees and so forth. So I got it mostly from him.
Now, in 2004, you alongside Stacy Brown created SurvTech Solutions. And the tagline of SurvTech is surveying today with tomorrow's technology. What exactly does that mean?
Well, we wanted to make a real commitment to certain things. Obviously, you know this, Dwight. One of them is our employees. That's probably the number one thing. But next to that was we always wanted to have a search for knowledge. And I think you listen to me talk about wanting to go to law school and all the tests I take in these other states. And I'm currently in the process of becoming a certified federal surveyor, going through that class. So the constant quest for knowledge is something that we take very highly here. We're constantly pushing ourselves. Obviously, with a business, you need to have cash flow and you need to pay for this technology. But even right now, for a small business, we have some of the latest GPS equipment out there, and every crew runs it. We have, for a small company, every crew's got GPS. We have 8 receivers, and we've made a real commitment to that. So that's pretty much one of our goals, and we've made a commitment to that.
One thing that SurvTech is known for is the incorporation of ethics and morality and a definite Christian base in the business. What do you think makes that such an important piece of the equation to the success of SurvTech solutions?
Well, Dwight, I'm going to put it very simple. Would you call and talk to somebody that you constantly did not enjoy talking to? They were mean to you or they were rude to you. Would you give them your business?
Probably not.
I would say the answer is no. And so I come from a very common sense approach background. I come from Maine. We're cheap, we're common sense people, frugal I guess I should say. And really, I mean, my belief is to do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. I've always believed that. And I believe in calling people back. It's very rarely, if I don't call you back the same day, that means that I probably didn't get into the office from wherever I was until late in the day, and I'll call you back the next day. That's one of our big things, is to call people back, return emails, and we try to do it real time because we think that's important to people. Even if we can't get to what they need right then, we tell them where we're at and what we can get to. And that's worked really well for us. Our number one reason of picking up clients is, man, you guys called me back. Seems so simple, but it works for us. And I shouldn't say most, I get often complained that surveyors don't return calls and emails, and we try to be just the opposite. I've always felt that way, and probably about 3 to 4 years ago, I've always been a Christian since a very young age, and I'm a member of C12, which has really taught me that Christian principles is something really that betters America on a daily basis. Even if you aren't a Christian, living by a certain set of morals and ethics really changes the face of the country. I mean, if everybody acted that way, we wouldn't have some of the issues we have today. And
sure.
During the past year, we've probably sent back to certain companies somewhere around the $200,000 of overpayments. They overpaid, they didn't realize it, and so we mailed them a check back immediately, or let them know, and they came in and took the money back out of our account. And people hear that and they're like, they can't believe it. I'm like, that's the right thing to do. There's nothing else, there's no other way to approach it. And so we routinely do things like that. If we make mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes, we answer up to them. We own up to them. And there's nothing you can do about a mistake that's made. You can only do the right thing and tell people what you've done, and you fix it for free and go forward. That's all you can do. So it's our whole philosophy, Dwight, and we've really tried to clone that or just build that into the culture. You know, not to get frustrated, not to get upset, always just have a proactive, positive way to fix something. And Stacy, my partner, is wonderful for that, and I'm good at that, and we've, you know, it's worked for us. I mean, that's the way we run our business.
And speaking of corporate culture that you just mentioned and the way you run the business, it seems that the corporate culture of SurvTech Solutions has been something very positive that's permeated the consciousness of the employees. Do you think that SurvTech just naturally attracts the right kind of people because of the corporate culture and because of the attitudes and actions of the employees that are already here?
It's a beautiful thing. I'm in a couple of CEO groups and other things, and so is Stacy, and we have such a beautiful thing going here at SurvTech. Our culture is incredible. Everybody enjoys working together, and it starts from the top down. When we have bad employees, it's up to me and Stacy to weed them out. And we got to do it quickly, efficiently, and get better people in here. And that's what we've done the whole time. And yes, it does attract good employees. When they see that you treat them fairly, when you reward hard work, when you're all really pulling for the same thing. You have owners here in me and Stacy that aren't greedy. We're trying to do what's best for the company. And it's really, I mean, it's permeated the entire organization. I get so many applications now of people that want to work here. In the old days, I'd have to advertise and try to attract people. Not anymore. I got people knocking down the door to work here. We get hundreds of resumes, applications, probably every couple months. And so it's really made that part of hiring and so forth easier at SurvTech. And we're always looking for good people. It's really permeated the entire culture. We don't have the headaches and problems that other firms do. We enjoy going to work because nobody's fighting with each other. There's no tension. It's probably one of the number one things about working at SurvTech, really.
What are your plans for the future of SurvTech? Like, where do you see the company progressing?
Well, I really think the sky's the limit for SurvTech. We're getting into some really neat things with GIS, GPS, And we have some really incredible people. And all of those people are going to start to get licensed and grow in their careers. And I really see, I mean, obviously right now everybody knows the economy is allegedly or supposedly down. I don't know if I buy into all that, but we have really grown our client base in the last 2 years when this economy is supposedly down. So I see SurvTech growing. I see us opening branch offices throughout the state, throughout the country. I mean, right now we're licensed to offer services in pretty much the entire Southeast, 5 or 6 states, and continue to grow that. I mean, we're really, my belief here is not to build employees, it's to build leaders. And I probably got 10 to 12 people that I would consider leaders here, and they're going to be the next round of leaders. They'll be running offices, we'll be getting into some really cool and neat technology, and we'll continue to do a good job for our clients. That's the main thing. I don't know if it'll ever be like a franchise or so forth, but I see us being much bigger and really just going forward, one step at a time, day by day, really.
Now, one thing that you're known for, David, is you have a phrase in your email signature. Can you tell me what that is and what that means?
Yes, you can either follow your fears or be led by your passions. And isn't that life? I mean, we could all right now curl up and say the economy's going down, down, down. And really it's a self-fulfilling prophecy if you do that. My opinion is this get fear eliminated. And that's one of the reasons my Christian belief has been such a powerful thing for me. If I live day by faith and take fear out of the equation, now I can make crystal clear business decisions. What's best for me, what's best for the people, and truthfully, what's best for the organization as a whole is how we typically make our decisions. And so I want to go through life being led by my passions, which means what I'm passionate for is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to let fear make me make bad decisions and let it stand in the way. And really that's how me and Stacy chose to run SurvTech, and it's really paying off for us. We've kept our core group of people together, and we can still service our clients in this down economy. Other companies haven't been so lucky. They've laid off too much of their staff and they can't get to their clients, and probably that's why we're picking up clients, because we've maintained our staff, our level.
Well, that's great, David. I want to thank you for taking time to speak with me here today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's been a real pleasure, Dwight. It's not very often that I get to tell people a lot of my philosophies, and I would like to add one thing for anybody that watches this. I mean, our mission statement here at SurvTech is to better the lives of our employees, who in return will make the difference for our clients. And truthfully, that's what we built SurvTech around. So if you're looking at a potential job here, obviously I can't hire everybody, but if you're hardworking, diligent, really want to get ahead in life and make a difference, SurvTech's a good place for you. And I think that's one of the reasons we have the culture that we do, is because we truly live that mission statement every day. And so, in closing, I'd just like to thank you, Dwight. Really, like I said, hopefully people out there enjoyed this and enjoy hearing from me. Thanks.